guest, Fregenet. I mean, she is just one powerhouse of a woman. Okay, we're celebrating March, and in this month of March, I want to highlight all the successful women who have inspired me through my journey. So, Fregenet, I call her Frey because you're my friend as well. Welcome to the Everyday Leader.
Thank you. You're so kind. Very nice. But thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, yeah, great to have you. Um, there's so much I want to talk to you about because I know you have so much to share, but we always have to know where it all begun, right? So, for people who don't know you, give us a short and sweet intro about who you are. And I know you as a powerful leader and how you became a leader in the journey you went through.
Okay, so to introduce me, I am a mother of twin daughters who are 16, growing up very, very quickly. I'm the third, I'm the third girl out of four in my family, the daughters, sisters. I was born and brought up until the age of 14 in Addis. And then at the age of 14, I moved to the UK. And then went to the UK, moved in different boarding schools. At the time, when I left Ethiopia, I was the youngest. So I was the most spoiled child. Did everything with my mom, was next to my mom every time. So nobody thought I would actually survive moving away and moved into a new country, no siblings, no Ethiopian, nothing. But I guess that kind of makes you stronger, I think. Like you're just thrown in the deep end and you learn to just come out of the challenges or the difficulties of being alone. And then, so yes, I did my secondary in Ethiopia. I made great friends. I mean, in the UK, and then I did my degree and master's in London, in King's College London. I did biochemistry. I don't even know now. When I think about it, I don't even know why I did biochemistry. But anyway, I did biochemistry, and I did the life science research master's. And then I decided I'm not a lab person. And actually, when I think about it now, I can't believe I thought I was a lab person. I'm too much of a uh, talk too much. I'm
You're
out and
still
about. I'm too loud. Yeah. So anyway, so after I did my MSc, then I started working pharmaceuticals. So in England, I worked in multiple pharmaceutical companies, MSD and so on. Then moved to Ethiopia 18 years ago. Followed love and just and in Addis, then I had my girls here, and I've been raising my girls here.
feel about it. I know moms never want to see their kids leave. So, how was it? How was the dynamic there?
At the time, other sister had left before me, and then another sister came after me. But yeah, they know what's just they want to give you opportunities, don't they? So like they sacrifice. So it wasn't easy, but honestly, I am who I am partially because of that experience. It wasn't easy, but I think children are resilient, right? So you're resilient, and you just learn to just get on with it. And I'm really happy, and I'm really grateful that actually I went through that.
Yeah. Wow. It does make you strong. And that's really the hardest part of being a mom is like raising kids and then you have to let them go no matter what, like no matter the situation, whether you like it or not. So, whew, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I know you're not looking forward to that when it comes to your twins. So you don't have to just let go of one; you have to
I
let go of
know.
two at the same time. Ooh,
At the same time. I know. Yeah.
oh gosh, I'll pray for you.
Thank you. I'll need it.
So you've mentioned that you've worked in all these, big pharma companies, in the European setting, and also after you moved back home to Ethiopia. Um, and you've worked in a lot of leadership positions in these companies. So how did you ascend to that level? Was it easy? Were there some challenges you had to face? And how did you face those challenges? What things helped you through the process?
So when I was in the pharmaceuticals, but a totally different area. I worked in drug safety, pharmacovigilance in the office, and just looking at the safety of drugs. So it was different. Then I moved to Ethiopia, and I think that's what happens when you move from European countries or Western countries to our continent, to our countries. Then you don't always do exactly the same job that you did when you were there, especially not in my case anyway. So I honestly just came blind and just started looking for a job. And then 6 months later, because I just followed my fiance then, so I just assumed I'll get the job. So I started working in an NGO first for a year, which was great. But then I missed the pharma world. And then I got a job in Sanofi. And the funniest thing is, had you asked me before that, I'd go into sales and marketing, commercial. Are you crazy? Me, a salesperson? Never. But I don't even know how they took me. I guess they believed in me more than I believed in myself, because I went through like 5 interviews, and I'm like, why are you interviewing me? Because like I don't know Ethiopia. Although I grew up here, but I left when I was very young and been away longer. I was in somehow a little bit of my own culture shock. I didn't know the industry and so on. But anyway, but I guess I was lucky, because when I first joined Sanofi, so I was the country manager for Ethiopia to establish the Ethiopian office. And my boss then, so I was lucky with bosses and the company. So my first boss then, Cheryl, she just walked me through it. She was there, just walked me through my journey and how it works and so on. So it made it easier to get into leadership. Sanofi multinational, it meant that leadership and so on. And then for my boss, Paolo, he still man as is Cheryl for that matter. He was incredible. He's one of those very assertive, very honest, and people. And responsive. If I sent him an email, I'll get an email at 6 a.m.
Wow.
Taught me leadership that way, I think. So fortunately, we had good team. We established another colleague of mine, Kasan. We established a good team, and Sanofi Ethiopia became the strongest, fastest growing pharmaceuticals in Ethiopia. So, and it was an easier journey. Starting much easier than going into an organization, because you do it your way, and not having to change other culture. So anyway, so that's how and then went to different leadership roles after that. And the challenge. So coming into Ethiopia is first and foremost is just not understand what people will. So I always needed that, even if I knew I'm later, every time to explain to me whatever was said to me was. Yeah, and it's not knowing Ethiopia, it's not knowing the culture, it's just not understanding things said to you in a very twisted way, I suppose. So I think that was the hardest thing, or in a very different way. I don't know the word for not twisted, but no, it's said so differently. It's like, for me, it's like everything's face value. So that was the hardest thing. Mm-hmm. So juggling that, and also I have an elderly mother, so juggling that as well at work. And in Sanofi there's like I don't know, 8, and then I also looked after Ethiopia and Uganda, so I had like 20 something people at that time when my children were very young. So then you make a decision: do I just continue with my career and just keep rising and climbing, or what's my focus, what's my interest? And as much as I care about my career, I care about my children. So I decided to change the kind of jobs I was doing. So I, for example, stopped looking after Uganda. Again, at some point I was looking after East Africa, but then I'm like, I can't. So again, so having to make decisions. And I think it's usually us women that kind of make those kind of choices. So the challenge was wanting to and just juggling and balancing my responsibilities, 3 things. So looking after my mom, looking after my children, and also work. Like in Pioneer, when I was the CEO, there was about 280 people under me, so within that in the team. So to me, it's like I'm the mother of the 280 people. So they're all my responsibility that I have to shoulder.
Yeah.
So yeah, just juggling the different responsibilities was probably the hardest challenge after not understanding things in Ethiopia at the beginning.
Wow. That is so amazing. There are so many things to point out from what you just said. First of all, the fact that you came into Sanofi with this not having the exact right experience for the position, but yet because they have built a system and they have all this trainings and whatnot in place, it was easy for you to kind of get used to it and understand, the environment and be able to work, and not only work but also thrive. And then there's this whole shift of having other responsibilities, which I think as women we've been blessed to have this empathy and care for others, but at the same time it also requires us to sacrifice certain personal aspects of our lives, right, and professional aspects of our
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
So I love that. It's just talking on these 3 points or 2 points that you've mentioned, we can just finish the whole interview discussing those things. um and that's probably what we're going to do, because as you were talking, I was thinking, how is, because you talked about how things are a bit different in Ethiopia, that you needed a translator, not for the language itself, but for the context of what is being spoken. So, how do you think is different, even if you weren't in leadership positions when you were working in Europe, but you still saw the system and understood how things were implemented? How do you think it's different to run a business, to lead a business in Ethiopia versus it would be, let's say, Europe, or since you've been involved in East African regions of under Sanofi, how do you think it is different? What's your experience?
Every country is different. Not only every country is different, every company within the same industry is different. If so, England, I wasn't in business, but I imagine the difference is their systems in place. There's a lot more systems in place than there is here. But Ethiopia was even harder in some respect when I compared it to Kenya or Uganda, for example. Harder in some ways and different. So if I compare the Eastern African countries, Ethiopia, there's a lot more challenges, say, for example, in customs, and just harder. Just if I just focus on customs, because that's so in Ethiopia at the time, especially when I was in pharma, it would take me like, I don't know, a good month, 2 weeks to a month to clear it from here in Addis. So it was a lot more challenging. Whereas in the other countries, literally a matter of days. So I used to be so jealous. I'm like, I want my country to be like that. And I think it's better now. It's a lot more improved now. But I cared about it, and it was different. But then the way you work is different. I remember when my team was being trained, the Ethiopian team was being trained in like Kenya or Nigeria, I could see so many differences. So in pharmaceuticals, you go and do your promotions to healthcare professionals. So in Ethiopia, it was very much a conversation, discussing science, talking about the product, creating relationship, and that's it. Whereas in the other countries, it was very much, are you going to prescribe? Are you going to, like, it was really, really aggressive and really a lot more pushy. And so they were telling my team, the Ethiopian team, to do that. And I was like, no way. imagine
It'll
that
work.
being said to an Ethiopian, a doctor in Ethiopia, like, it'll be thrown out.
Yeah.
So it's just, yes, the context is different. So you have to make it, everything has to be localized. So at the same time, it's exciting. Like in Ethiopia, for example, again, which is where I've done the most, no day is the same. Every something new comes every day. Uh, it's challenging. Literally every day you can be, but I think it also makes you a lot more resilient, a lot more solution oriented, and a lot more tolerant and dynamic. It kind of makes you dynamic because you have to find ways of going through the different challenges you go through in the business world in Ethiopia, regulators or suppliers or anything like that keeps a business thriving. There's always a challenge here and there. But yeah, so I think every country is different, and even within, if I went into healthcare in Ethiopia, the pharma is different to a hospital to a diagnostic center. So it's yeah, they both have their own pros and cons, but the main thing I think is system.
Yeah, it's really undeniable. Whichever line you go into, whether it's business or nonprofit or public sector, that's really what stands out in the Ethiopian aspect is there's just a lack of well built, well established system. Hence why, like you said, when something comes up, you yourself as an individual have to have that mental flexibility and adaptive capability to solve those things because there isn't really anything in place. And it's very person, individual dependent because if as a person you don't have that skill, those skills, then those problems are not going to be solved or it's going to take longer to solve. So it's really reflected in a lot of sectors that we have in Ethiopia. I would dare to say that at least.
Well, I think there's a system in place though. I think there's systems in place. I believe it's a lot better now as well, but there's some systems in place, but it's just ensuring that people are actually following those systems. And I think maybe there are not people that try and following up to ensure that those systems are being used or utilized. But it's better. I think it's getting better. While it is challenging, but
yeah. Why do you think I'm here for this, right? I love this little back and forth between okay, I want to understand your perspective. So, and this is why I love talking to you because you have your stance and you're able to defend it. So when you do say there is a system, which I would say otherwise, for just because of my experience, when you say there is a system, so do you think it is not only like you said, are there not people to guide you to adhere to a system or to introduce you to the system or to induct you into it, or is it that the system was not designed for us and by us? Do you think that could also be one of the issues, do you think?
who's
Ethiopians. Most of
sure,
the
but who's
systems are
us?
just directly adopted.
Yeah, so there are probably a lot of, but um, I think I do believe there are systems in place. If you go to any government institution, they have it written down. I don't know if it's been filtered down in terms of training, but system is not just about laying it out, right? It's also making sure that it's used, utilized, tracked, follow up, updated, amended, reused. It's a whole cycle. So I think that's where probably the disconnect is, or the challenge is. They There is an ambition to build systems, whether it's, but I think it's just following through with it is probably more the challenge, and so it becomes very much human dependent. Because when you have a system in place, it shouldn't be human dependent. Whoever is there, whatever is there, it should just flow. But I think our systems, perhaps that's the challenge, is designed to be very much human dependent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, so you talked about the challenges that are very kind of peculiar to our country, and I understand that you were part of were you a former president of the Ethiopian Pharmaceutical and Medical Supplies Manufacturing Industry Association, if I got that right, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so as being part of that, I feel like you would have that position would give you like a bird's eye view to see a lot of things and challenges, and also, you know, things that are working within the pharmaceutical and medical supply, whether it's manufacturing or supply chain. So, what stood out to you? What things do you think were successful or are being implemented successfully, and what things do we still have to work towards?
So, so I was the so the basically the pharmaceutical manufacturers, the local manufacturers, Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association president. So when I joined, it was very small. I mean, I think there were about 13 or 14 manufacturers. And I think when I joined as a president, had not been for quite some time a lot of activity. It had been established quite a long time ago, and it's just been going silently. So, but when I realized there was a huge disconnect between the manufacturers and the regulators. There was not huge adherence between the different manufacturing companies. And there was some level of mistrust. I'm a regulator or government body, so it was there hadn't been a good partnership in all the different areas, that all the different government bodies that needed to support the industry. So it could be the regulatory authority, could be investment, Ministry of Trade and Investment at the time, industry, National Bank, and so on. So there hadn't been a lot of communication. But then when I joined, we started, so myself and my deputy started going to all the different bodies. And the beauty is if you go into any of these organizations, the government bodies, be it National Bank or the EPSA at that time, Federal Pharmaceutical Supply Agency, if you go as an individual compared to if you go as an association, it's totally different. The acceptance, the hearing, it's so different. When you go as an association, you're a lot more heard, rather than when you're going as a company, because the thinking then is you're just a business trying to fulfill your business dreams. So it was a lot of dedication, a lot of energy, having to talk to the different bodies, and knowing us and trust us, and start working with the different organizations. I remember I went to somebody asking them. So we had issues with foreign currency. So this is a time when there was COVID, and there's also foreign currency shortages. So I said, okay, why don't we? And at the time, only the manufacturers can import raw materials, and about 80-90% of the products you need to manufacture is imported. So it's huge import. I mean, in terms of the value, it's a lot less than importing finished goods, but still a lot in terms of percentage-wise for your production. So I said, why don't we start allowing importers who have foreign currency to import on our behalf and just bring it to us? And it's just, are you crazy? He just couldn't understand that it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I think now 4 or 5 years, that's been allowed. So it required time for people to understand the value of what we're doing. So like I said, when I joined, there was just a few of us. Like I said, 13 of us. It was just us. It was just a lot of. It was just get people to listen to you.
I love that. It's interesting how you said the perspective of the government bodies is more, I don't want to use the word hostile, but it is not as welcoming as it should be, because they think the business owners are in for profit. How do you think we can change that dynamic?
I mean, naturally, and honestly, I think business owners, in some cases, abuse that as well. So, I mean,
so we can't really blame the government bodies as well.
I mean, we're both to blame. We're both to blame. I mean, it's again, it's changed so much from when I first came to Ethiopia to now. There's a lot more openness and acceptance, at least in the health sector, of private businesses within the ministries. But I think we're both to blame.
I'm going to get your outlook on this. How do you think we can support more manufacturing, more local manufacturing when it comes to especially equipments, which are way more expensive to import? Because I know there is a certain level of pharmaceutical manufacturing going on in Ethiopia, but how do we use that same system, or maybe encourage production and manufacturing of equipment as well? How do you think that can be done?
So the question is, how can we motivate more people to manufacture in Ethiopia, right? Be it equipment or
Yeah.
In terms of purchase, for example, now the pharmaceutical supply agency for the whole government institutions in Ethiopia prioritizes even up to 25% higher price than what you would import. Liquidity is a challenge. So with the banks, because like you said, it requires a lot of money, maybe bigger loan options. Yeah, so for sure, local manufacturing is, by many reasons, much better for Ethiopia than having to import in terms of job creation, substitution, so many things. So it's consistent and constant and followed up options for people to be able to start manufacturing here. And from other countries to also start, other pharmaceutical companies to also import in Ethiopia. So it's motivating the existing manufacturers from other countries to come and do contract manufacturing or different kind of manufacturing in Ethiopia.
Yeah. There are multiple hurdles to really that need to be addressed. Although it is, I think, the obvious sustainable way to bring about, you know, equity, when we talk about equity, health equity, and whatnot, in the provision of healthcare services. Sustainability in manufacturing is a key branch of it. And I remember I had this conversation with a certain person that shall remain nameless, who has a lot of is a big business person, and we're talking about manufacturing certain, or as an orthopedic surgeon, it was pertaining orthopedic products, and the one thing I would credit to the person said, let me think about it. So that was a start, right? Because a lot of people can just shut you down. It's like, nah, like that's not my line of work. I'm not even going to entertain it. But this person, they took their time. The person took their time, and they came back to us with an answer. And we were told that it's not going to be profitable, because importing, the hustle of establishing the site itself, the manufacturing site, and then the equipment that's used for manufacturing, and then having to import the raw material and stuff like that. And the person said, I would rather just import it. We're like, okay, So, and this individual is also in manufacturing. They do manufacture other things, but just not medical equipment. So it was very interesting to me to hear that response, and it kind of changed my outlook on how I've always had this, someone can do it. It's just for someone to start it, and then when you do go to the people who are into well versed in the manufacturing industry, and you hear such things, it's a bit discouraging. That's all I want to say. But yeah.
So I mean, with that, I respond to this, because I totally businesses, so it's a bit different. But definitely, healthcare, the manufacturing is a lot more different. Probably the profit margins, I don't know, may not be the same as other non-healthcare. I don't know, but manufacturing in Ethiopia, you just like you just need to have capital. Any business actually in Ethiopia is very profitable. It's challenging. There could be bureaucracies, there could be hurdles, but if you can go through them in Ethiopia, you can do it. And I'm not being patriotic here. I sincerely believe it. Even where I'm manufacturing, we were working at 20-30% and we're still profitable. 20-30% capacity.
Wow.
At the of COVID and so on. But whatever the case, yes, you have to import. Ethiopia, there's no price ceiling. Of course, your competitors can bring something from another country cheaper than what you'd manufacture it for in Ethiopia. But in healthcare, I mean, there's always shortage. Always shortage for anything, whether it's equipment, medicines, whatever. There's always shortage. Market it right, you can get. For me, it's just starting. Starting is not easy. Also, the difference between non-healthcare organization, be it manufacturing or any business, is healthcare stringent as it should be because it's human health, right? So there's a lot more stringent, a lot more rules and regulations.
Yeah.
If you're used to a business where you don't, even in manufacturing, I think it becomes harder to do so in healthcare. It's very, very stringent. But honestly, Ethiopia, it's like whatever you do, as long as you do it well, you can succeed. It's challenging for sure, but you can do it. I believe.
I love that. Okay. I agree. There's always high demand. Just the mere size of our population and the rate of the growth is you're right. I see that, and the market is the most important driver of the profit, like you said. So makes sense. Okay, so you are one of the very few women in business leadership, and specifically in healthcare businesses. So how do you see women encouraging other females to elevate themselves to the position of leadership within the business sector, in the healthcare business sector? And are there any programs that you're aware of that do such things, whether it's in the form of mentorship or coaching or internship and whatnot? What has been your experience?
So, so in terms of programs, I'm sure there are a lot. I used to be involved, but then, like I said to you, after the association, because of the load I have personally, I'm not so involved in programs. But personally, as a leader, I'll give you some examples. The recent examples would be in Pioneer. We have a lot of, so generally with women. So when do we have challenges, or at what stage does our growth get slowed down? Is, I think, when we have children, or when just pregnancy and then going for maternity, and then when you have children, your responsibilities changes, so your curve, your incline kind of slows down. So what did we do in Pioneer, for example? We have, I don't know, I think 60-70% of the staff, young girls, young women. So it's working, as you know, it's a diagnostic center for people who don't know it. And we work 24 hours a day. So we have to do as much as we can is after a mother has given birth, first 6 months, if possible, a year, we try not to give them night shifts, to do night shifts, because imagine how tough it is as a new mother, breastfeeding, having to deal with night shifts.
Oh yeah.
To not join. There's one girl, she was in finance. She had 4 kids, I think 4 children under the age of 6 or something. It's really, So she resigned. I said, no way. There is no way under my watch somebody's going to resign because she's got children that she's being responsible for. So we said, no, it's fine. Just work a couple of days a week from home. So she tried that. She said, no, I can't. Okay, fine. Work 100% from home. Internship, I'm very, 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 very passionate about internships. So I think we did it on one of the March 8th activities that we did. Said, what should we do? What should we do for young girls? What should we do for people? And so on. So we decided we have to do internships. We obviously give the opportunities to everybody, male or female, maybe a little bit more towards the female, and maybe a little bit more to people that have been, and girls that privileged background. And but give it to everybody, because for me, there's a lot of people, very well-to-do people that go through depression and so on. So it's not just for one set of population. So it's just a mix. So be it in the call center, finance, HR, GPs, whatever, any department, I don't care how many. I said, we did internships. So we did a lot. So we started internships, and quite a good number of the people that came stayed in Pioneer, or they found jobs elsewhere. So I think as a leader, it's really important to educate your leadership team as well, the value and importance of supporting. I remember I also heard somebody, a GP, she resigned because she's pregnant. I'm like, no way, she's not resigning because she's pregnant. We'll manage it for her. Called her, but it turns out that was not the reason. So I think, yeah, it's up to us as leaders to educate the rest of the team, because I think we create the tone, we create the culture of our team, whether it's 5 people or 200 or 500 people. The leader matters. The leader creates that tone. So whatever the leader does or creates, it's followed through. If I was the total opposite, everybody would follow that way. So it's really, really critical that us as leaders create that kind of environment to be able to enable girls to stay in their jobs and climb the ladder, if that's what they want.
Yeah. I love that. And I know you actually do that. I can attest to that because I've seen you at work. Yeah, so I know you're very supportive of other females as well. And just the lengths you go to make sure that they are comfortable, that they feel heard in their workspace. That's just amazing. I love it. You did mention a key word that I love, collaboration, right? Collaboration really encourages people, makes them feel heard. So how do you see the culture of collaboration in the context of the Ethiopian culture, especially when it comes to the business environment? Because as an Ethiopian, we celebrate collaboration, right? We talk about coming together for celebration, or during a loss, or whatever it is. Does it really actually translate in the work environment from your experience?
So if it's the in company collaboration within one organization, I think it's up to the leader to create that environment. Now, between companies, I'll give you some examples or experiences I've had. So, and I think it's because of what the shortages that we have in Ethiopia. So in manufacturing, for example, to manufacture one product, you may need 25 inputs. And it's rare that you have those 25 inputs every time, all the time, for example. So there's this beautiful culture, and I think it's very Ethiopian, but this culture of lending inputs to one another that we have, which is really, I don't think it exists anywhere else, honestly speaking. So the 25 inputs, if there's 3 things I need, I'll get it from one different manufacturers. You make sure that the documentation is right. You look at all the the certificates, whatever that's needed. We borrow and we lend and we pay back. And I think that's really rare in other countries. Now, so that's manufacturing. Within again, my experience within diagnostics now, what we've done is we have our machines, and then if another competitor's machine breaks down, we have agreements with a couple of them, by the way, whereby they send patients to us, they send their patients to us, and we have a partnership agreement where we share our revenues. In a country where you have things like foreign currency challenges, or you don't have an engineer available at all times, input for the engineer to fix things, I think that's important, where you can do some sort of partnership and collaborations. I think I would say if an internist sees a patient and needs a nephrologist, I think that's collaboration. They'll send it to a nephrologist in another hospital, or send it to a cardiologist in another hospital if the person does not exist there. So I think that's also collaboration. So in between, naturally it's business, naturally it's competition, so you can't collaborate on everything at all times, because we are all competing to get a business, even if it's healthcare. But you wouldn't do it at the expense of the patient, naturally, or you shouldn't do it at the expense of the patient. So I believe that it exists, but then there's also the natural competition world. So maybe other things that should be done are not done. But that's my personal experience, at least in terms of manufacturing and in diagnostics. And I don't think it's something that will be seen or done common. And I think also it's the environment you create and the culture you create for people to trust you and your organization. To be able to either send their patients to you or give you something that they know you'll pay back. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that the mutual trust that you have, and the fact that you mentioned the need and safety of the patients comes first, and then everything else comes next. I love that. I think that's a very healthy way of running a business, and it just goes to show you how you can build a successful business while still having that social responsibility upheld. So that's really beautiful. And it is true. That is really what is happening on the ground. And I just hope it grows and continues to benefit a whole lot more patient population as well. So we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, right? We talked about you influencing women, young females within your company, how you support them, the challenges that whether it's you or other females face going through the different stages of careers and things like that. And you've been involved in so many things. So we all naturally think about our legacy down the road. What do you want to be remembered for? Whether as a leader, a mother, or someone who've worked in business for a very long time now. What do you hope to leave in people's minds and hearts?
Hearts and minds. I like people to. I led. I lead by example. I don't sit in an office and order. It's not my personality. I'm kind of very much present. So I would like my legacy led by example, that was there, that was present, that was supportive, that mentor. And I'm extremely, extremely expressive. And that's my coping mechanism, or that's I suppose. So someone that always looked at this regardless or despite a hurdle that comes, and someone that's very much solution oriented. And I guess that's my positivity coming out.
Yeah, I love that. You really are those things. You're also very lively. That's what I loved about working in an environment that you were in. You just it don't feel like work. It just feels like, let's enjoy what we're doing. And
And that's what it should be.
yeah, that's really the
You spend a
energy
good
you
amount of
bring
your
in.
time at work, so That's good. I'm happy to hear it.
I love that. I love that, and I really think anybody who has met you cannot deny that. And you're already building a legacy, and I'm just so excited to see what else you got up your sleeve in the next few years down the line, and where we're gonna see you. Um, and I would love for you to, I know your plate is full, but I'm putting you on the hot seat right now. I want to invite you to my mentorship program to do at least one talk when it comes to business leadership to my mentees who are mainly undergraduate medical students and orthopedic trainees. Because we really need this. We really need this. You know, the work environment is changing now. And just because you have the badge of a doctor or a surgeon or this or that, and you're the perfect example for that, right? You started off in a different line and now you're doing something, it's not completely different, but the input of what you were trained in has translated into something which is bigger. So we have to prepare ourselves. We have to be multifaceted in this new era of technology and, you know, job market. So I want you to come and give that lecture. It's just going to be 1 hour of your life. I hope you will sacrifice it.
No, it's fine. I'm happy to do it. Well, my children are older now. Although I think they need me, they don't really need me as much. Say 5, 6, 7 years ago, of course, I needed to be present at home a lot more. But now, one that needs them. So I think I can do it. I'll be happy to. So
All right, that is so fantastic. And just a personal question for you. How do you manage to balance it? Like, what's your advice?
I balance it mm, by not having enough time for myself, I guess, eventually. So I work because you only have a certain number of hours in the day. So like you said, wherever I am, I try to be happy and positive. So in the work environment, I make sure I enjoy. So I'm trying to be as present as I can there, and then I just try to be as present as I can for my children. What I am lacking, or I'm not good at, is looking after myself. I'm not somebody who goes to hairdressers all the time, or goes for spas all the time, or goes shopping and all of that. I guess that's got something has to give. Mm, uh, Time with my friends, not as much as I would like to. I still keep friendships. I sustain friendships. That's actually very my strength. But I don't spend a lot of time with my friends. But it's just temporary. It's different times of your life. You go through different. You have different responsibilities and focuses. So, yep.
That's great advice. I love it. Honest and straightforward.
Better that way.
All right. Thank you so much, Fregenet. I really, really appreciate you. It's been a pleasure to have you and to talk to you for the past hour. And yeah, hope to have you back soon. Wish you all the best with you and your beautiful twin daughters.